Welcome to Wager Talk Today, Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. It's summer solstice, but that doesn't matter for us. We're talking sports from a Las Vegas perspective, your Sports Central for Gambler, each and every weekday, live 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon back east. I'm Ted Savransky. Teddy covers, joined by my co-host today, Marco D'Angelo. And Marco, what do we have for our viewing audience today on Wednesday for Wager Talk Today?
Well, Teddy, we've got a full show today. Rob Veno is going to kick things off. We're going to talk Arizona, Milwaukee, some daytime baseball today. We're also going to talk USFL playoffs, Michigan versus Pittsburgh. I guess I should have been watching USFL. I didn't even realize Pittsburgh was in the playoffs. And checking out what bettors learned, I'll have today's segment for you. We're going to talk about dinner with the Prez. That's always an adventure. And Major League Baseball streaks, not just betting winning streaks and losing streaks. I'll give you another angle to look at. Ali Burns is going to join us. She is the spokesperson for Ben Burns. She is going to break down the Twins and Red Sox today and give us a little strikeout prop in the Dodger-Angels game. We're going to have BS question, and it's a good one. What metric should you say is the most important for a successful pro bettor? We'll break it down. Is it total profit? Is it ROI? Is it win percentage? We'll have it covered there. And then cleanup spot is Andrew McInnis. He is going to talk CFL overreactions, what to look for and how to make money with it. And then he's going to break down Montreal and Hamilton. Teddy, full show today for Wednesday.
Sure, we're locked and loaded, and let's get right into it with Rob Veno Sports, who I always enjoy having on the program. Rob, welcome to Wager Talk Today. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, guys. I am a little bit honored that I get the lead and dinner with Prez doesn't get to be right out of the A block here. So I'll try and do my best to get some good advice to the listeners here. But everything's good here on the East Coast. Teddy, I didn't realize, it seems like it just started getting light out for a long time here outside of Philadelphia. And now all of a sudden we're going to turn around and go backwards starting tonight. So, or this is the longest day. Tomorrow we'll start going backwards. It's kind of a shame. I like when it's light out till 8:45.
Sure. Every day from here, between now and Christmas, it just gets shorter and shorter. Rob, let's start with a little MLB action for today. The D-backs and the Brewers. Milwaukee found a way to win last night after losing the opener of the series. Today, game 3. What are we going to do with Milwaukee and Arizona MLB action today?
Well, the first thing we're going to do, Teddy, here on my end is try and shorten it, make it a 5-inning game contest between Zach Gallen and Julio Teheran, who really has made an incredible comeback through at least 5 starts here. Long baseball season. We'll see if he can continue to perform the way he has, but it's been stellar so far out of Teheran. First 5 under here is 4.5. And I feel like that's the way we want to play this one, under 4.5 runs, for a couple of reasons. In Teheran's 5 starts, which I just mentioned, he's allowed just 1 run or less in the first 5 innings in 4 of those, and 2 runs in the other start. So he's been very good first couple times through the lineup. 4 of his 5 starts, first 5 inning totals, have landed on 3 or less. The other one was his most recent one against the Pirates. It landed 5. We don't want to see a 5 here. We'd rather see the 3 or less. But it shows you that he's been very, very good. And Milwaukee hasn't really supported him much. His run support is down first 5 innings with this team. Zach Gallen, on the other hand, 10 of his last 13 starts, he's allowed 2 runs or less in the first 5 innings. 10 of 13. A bulk of that is at home. And here comes the concern. Obviously, you always have a concern when you play these games. I don't think any time you ever make a bet, you feel like, oh, this is just a given. Everything's on my side. The concern here would be Zach Gallen's home road splits. On the road, nothing like what he's been at home. In fact, the 3 times out of those 13 games where he didn't allow 2 runs or less in the first 5, they were all on the road, which is where he is today. So we worry about that a little bit, but I'll temper that concern this way. He's faced Milwaukee once already this year. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs allowed. It was 7 shutout innings, 11 Ks, only 1 walk. in that particular game, he had 39 strikes, either called or looking, 22 and 17 if you want to break it up that way, but it was his highest combined total this season. So the Milwaukee lineup didn't handle him very well at all. They're 20th in Major League Baseball in first 5 innings runs scored. On average, they only scored 2.8 through the first 5, so not a very good fast start team. And June has been the worst month for this offense so far this season. 221 batting average, 661 OPS, only 17 home runs. They had 33 and 32 home runs the first 2 months of the year. Gallen, career-wise, great against this team, 1.86 ERA, 0.9 whip. If you just want to take the last 2 seasons with the Diamondbacks, or since he's come to the Diamondbacks, 4 starts, all 4 of those first 5 innings wound up 3 runs or less. That's the way we're going to try it here, guys. It's a day game after a night game, but the lineups are posted, and it looks like both managers have pretty decent lineups in there. So we'll look for the starting pitchers to help the bullpens out after last night and come up with an under 4.5 first 5 innings.
Rob, you must have thought that Teddy was going to do the cross-examination because you already answered mine what I was going to come with you about that home road split with Zach Gallen. Let me ask you one question, though. I'll have to spin because, just wouldn't be right, in honor of Teddy, not to question something. Would you look at possibly a team total in this game? Because we are definitely, you're expecting both pitchers to pitch well, but we have the concern on Zach Gallen. So why not, zero in on the Milwaukee pitcher, Tehran, and maybe go with a team total under on Arizona?
Yeah, it's a possibility there, Mark. I just think that Arizona has shown an ability, and again, a little bit of a concern that they score. Unlike Milwaukee, they do score quickly. And we're hoping that Tehran does the same job he's done the first 5 times out of the shoot, because if he doesn't here, I'm probably going to rip this ticket up. But Arizona's offense has been good and good early. It was good early in both games in this series. So I'm really counting on both of these starting pitchers to keep the opposing offense suppressed. I mean, we can get away with a 4-0. That's possible. Keep 3-1, keep Arizona down and get something out of Milwaukee. But I'll play first 5 under 4.5, and hopefully these guys can do their job. Maybe we get some tired bats, fatigued bats up at the plate early here.
Sure. Nothing wrong with a early start getaway day under for the first 5 innings. Rob says take a look at that for Milwaukee and Arizona. Let's shift our focus to some summertime football. The USFL, certainly not the NFL or college football or even the XFL necessarily. Nonetheless, there are playoffs going on right now. Michigan and Pittsburgh. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Pittsburgh Maulers -3. Total 38 against the Michigan Panthers. What are we going to do in USFL action? The playoff game on Saturday, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock here on the left coast. What do we do with this one, Mr. Veno?
Well, I think the first thing we do is we purchase Marco a Pittsburgh Maulers jersey so that he can represent them during the playoffs here. Hey, somebody's got to watch this stuff and bet it, so it might as well be me, right? This game, though, guys, I think there's an advantage here. Let's start and preface this by saying both of these teams represent the North Division. This is the North Division Championship, and both teams get in with 4-6 records. They get in kind of different ways. Pittsburgh's on an ascension. Michigan, not so sure. But to get in last week, they both had to win. Pittsburgh wins 26-6 over New Jersey. Pretty impressive. They used a 17-0 second half to pull away. Michigan beat Philadelphia last week 23-20. They also used a 17-0 second half. They trailed 20-6 at halftime, and I believe they had given up 220 passing yards in the first half. Big second half out of them gets it done. Like I said, Pittsburgh's was impressive. Michigan's, I'm going to question a little bit, guys. They benched their starting quarterback, Josh Love, who used to quarterback San Jose State. We'll remember him from college. And they started E.J. Perry, their 3rd starting quarterback this season. E.J. Perry, for those who don't know, a prolific passer from Holy Cross. He only puts up 12 of 23 for 121 last week. Nothing great. His 48 rushing yards actually led the team in rushing. The only touchdown drive out of those 23 points scored that E.J. Perry led was a 40-yard drive. That's it. The rest was all off of field goals and a blocked punt return for a touchdown. Michigan did next to nothing in that game, still wound up winning, somewhat due to the fact that the Stars lost their number one wide receiver in that contest, Corey Coleman. Again, for those who follow college football, Corey Coleman went to Baylor and also played in the NFL. But he's not only the leading wide receiver for Philadelphia, he's the leading wide receiver in the entire league. He went down. Philly was down to a third-team running back, Dexter Williams, ex-Notre Dame guy. He goes down in the fourth quarter. They had a field goal attempt, hit the crossbar, and bounced back into the field of play. So a lot of things went Michigan's way last week to get them there. These teams have played twice this year. Both were easy Pittsburgh wins, 19-7 and 23-7. And here's the number that I really take note of, guys. In the two contests against one another, Michigan's offense had the ball for 24 possessions. They scored twice. 22 times Pittsburgh turned them away. 2 times they scored. So for me, Pittsburgh's defense, which is rated number 1 in the USFL, has the advantage here against the Michigan offense. And their quarterback, Troy Williams, again, I'll just revert back to college, played at Utah and the University of Washington. Troy Williams, dual threat guy, now moved up to the number 3 quarterback rating in the league. And as I mentioned, Pittsburgh's been playing much better late heading into the playoffs than Michigan kind of stumbled into these playoffs. I would not argue anybody who wants to play Pittsburgh first half here. I'll just rattle you off some ATS numbers where first half is concerned, these two teams. Pittsburgh, 9-1 against the spread in their 10 games first half this year. The other side, 1-7 first half in their last 8. I think you got a clear-cut advantage here with Pittsburgh, guys. I'll lay the 3.
Good stuff, Rob. I'm not going to even try to cross-examine you because the last USFL game I saw actually was a Pittsburgh Maulers game, the inaugural season, and I had hair, so I'm not even going to try to go there with you. All great stuff on that breakdown. Rob, tell us what you got going. Give us a little promo on yourself.
Yeah, Major League Baseball today, guys. And I think there's going to be a CFL play up and available early this afternoon as well. 3-1 to start the season in CFL. I know you'll have Andrew on later to talk that league. But Major League Baseball has been very good this season, up close to 21 units of profit so far in MLB. And we're going to have a 4% best bet for nighttime action. I gave you my day play here with Arizona and Milwaukee under, but we'll have a nighttime game as well. So Major League Baseball, CFL, give it a look, WagerTalk.com.
Rob Veno, clearly a man who knows his football. Always appreciate your time and energy, Rob. Best of luck this evening. Marco, you and I were both invited to dinner with our normal co-host, Lawrence Presman, last night. You decided to show up. I decided to stay home. How'd it go? Tell us what you learned at dinner with Prez, and obviously that wasn't the only thing that we learned last night.
Yeah, Prez. Well, let me tell you, dinner with the Prez is always interesting, but he's in town, as you know. World Series is here in town, and he's with a bunch of friends from Toronto with him, and he's introducing me to everybody. And then the last guy he introduces me to is the guy that actually put the dinner together last night where we went. A nice Mexican restaurant in Aria, and his friend Ronnie. And how he describes Ronnie when he's introducing him is, hey, we've been friends since 3rd grade, one of my best friends, blah, blah, blah. He's going on and on. He goes, but I got to tell you, he can be a little obnoxious. He always has a story. No matter what the topic is, he has a story about him, and it always trumps everybody else. And he says that to me with a straight face as I look at Prez, and I'm going, my God, are you guys identical twins then? Because that is Prez to a T. It amazes me anytime I see somebody that says they were friends with Prez for a long, long time. I don't know about, and you're one of them, Teddy. Any comment on that?
Self-awareness, not one of Prez's stronger personality traits. That being said, there's also something you want to talk about when it comes to streaks today, or do you want to make fun of Prez some more?
Yeah, I could go on and on, but you know what? Let's give them some actionable stuff here. And I know you've talked about betting streaks in baseball a lot, Teddy. And baseball, to me, more so than any other sport, I really put an emphasis on streaks. It just teams get in that You're playing every day. There's no breaks. Generally, you get a travel day, maybe once a week. That's it. But you're playing almost on a daily basis. So you get rhythms, both good and bad. And we all know that, when a team's winning, you're going to lay a big price with them generally because the market's going to move on you. When you're playing a team that's losing, you're going to be at the worst of it there too. If you're betting against, and we'll talk about one of the teams, the Oakland A's have been so bad this year, you got to pay a price. And whenever they do finally win a game in that streak, it really hurts because it's like losing 2 or more on your unit bets. But here's something: generally, winning or losing streaks are involved from one of two things. Teams either not hitting the ball well or they're not pitching well. And that's the reason that they're losing. And if you look deeper into some of these teams where you can find some better value sometimes, not for us so much here in Vegas, Teddy, because, we don't have all the luxuries of the added bets that everybody else has in the other states with the different sports books, but team totals. And here's where I'm getting at. If you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, they've lost 8 in a row. The key to them losing, they're not hitting the baseball. They have scored 3 runs or less in 8 of their last 10 games. That translates to, if you just bet the Pirates team total under in the last 10 games, you're cashed 9-1, and you're not laying big numbers doing that. Another example is the Colorado Rockies. They've lost 7 in a row. If you look at them, they've given up 6 runs or more in 7 of their last 8 games. That's why they're losing. Yeah, we know that Colorado, they generally are going to give up runs when they're playing at home. But they've been on the road for this streak. And their team total, if you bet their opponent team total over, 7-1 the last 8. And then the last one I'll point out to you is the Oakland A's. We know how bad they've been this year. You know that you're generally laying over 200, 250 if you want to bet against them on a nightly basis. But here's what's wrong with them. They're not scoring runs either. They are scoring 3 runs or less, 6 straight games in that 6-game losing streak. You didn't have to lay 2-1 to cash this one. Just bet Oakland team total under perfect 6-0 in those 6 games.
Marco making sense with his What Bettors Learned. When you're talking about these team totals, it's a way to bet against a team without having to lay the big juice to do it. And when you see a team like Oakland, they're, got to lay $2 against them every day, or other slumping teams. Now, like Pittsburgh has been a big chalk of late. You've had to lay a price to go against the Pirates as well. So looking at the team totals, a very potentially profitable way to look at some of these streaks. When teams are finding a way to lose, figure out which way to bet them team total wise. Generally, you're looking at them under or their opponents over the total. Anything you want to add to that, Marco, or should we move on?
Nope, we can move on.
Let's talk to Team Burns. I always enjoy getting a chance to spend a few minutes with Ali Burns. I don't think the feeling is mutual. Every time I ask her a follow-up question, she looks like she's throwing me daggers with her eyes. So today, we got Marco.
You're asking me a question about a pick that Ben get. Well, let me call him and ask real quick, freaking Teddy. Let me find out what he wants to say about that. I'm just saying. I love your face. I do. How are you guys doing today? What's up, Marco? Nice to meet you.
Yes, I enjoy doing the show with you. And Ali, let me tell you, you don't have to worry about me coming at you with so Ali afterwards. I'll be gentle.
It's all good. I've been following baseball quite a bit. I've been really hot actually in my own picks. I'm 8-2 right now with my own picks. Actually, what you were just talking about, Marco, I'm a big trend better. Those Reds, I've been flowing with the Reds first 5. We're talking about how the Rockies, they don't hit the ball, but really the angle I was going with was that the Reds freaking do, and they love to hit early, and then Votto coming back. So, I like to look for the trends of the winners. So the first Ben Burns pick I'm going to give to you is going to completely contradict what I just said. Okay. So he wants to fade the Reds.
Let me bring you in. Let's talk about Minnesota and Boston today. The Red Sox are winning right now. The Twins have had a pretty rough homestand so far, and yet Minnesota's the favorite today. Gray and Whitlock. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing Minnesota in the minus 120 range at home. Total 8.5. What do we want to do with the Red Sox and the Twins?
So Ben and I disagree on this, and I'm going to tell you that right out the gate. We don't always agree on anything. Twins were also the favorite yesterday, and they were the favorite the day before that, and they lost both of those games to the Red Sox, who are on a 6-game winning streak. Now, my play on this was actually a Red Sox first 5 run line play, and he likes the Twins full game, but he's the boss applesauce, okay? So that is who he's going to go with. He likes Sonny Gray a lot, and Gray was kind of coming off like not his best start ever, so he's thinking he bounces back in this spot. I like this Whitlock guy. And, he keeps getting better and better each start that he has, but his starts on the road aren't super spectacular. So I do think that the Twins do hold the pitching advantage here. I just hate going against a win streak, but that's Ben's play. He likes the Twins full game money line. I like the Red Sox first 5 run line. Just saying. Don't tell him I said that, though, Teddy.
I won't say a word.
Your secret's safe with me, Ali. And one thing I'll throw in here, I did look at this game myself, and you don't like to see the home team get swept. You want to find a reason to take them. And I was looking at Minnesota myself, but what stopped and had me pump the brakes on Minnesota was Sonny Gray. As good as he's been this year, my concern, if you look in his last 2 starts, he's only gone 4 and 5 innings, but more importantly, his strikeout to walk ratio, 8-6. That was a red flag for me because not a good strikeout to walk ratio. And I say it all the time. I look at these starting pitchers like I read the daily racing form with horses. They go in and out of form. To me, I'm concerned that he's about to go the other way. And that was my caution. But it didn't get me to the Boston side. It got me on the fence and don't have to play the game.
Right. And so when I look at pitchers, like the way I kind of break it down is here's my little notepad here, but like I'm looking, what does the book think that like Sonny Gray's ER earned runs are juiced minus 160 under 2.5. So in my head, I'm like, okay, that's a pretty solid 2 right there. And then Whitlock's 2.5 earned runs are juiced minus 125 under. So like the pitching outs, Whitlock over 15.5 pitching outs, whereas Gray under 17.5. So I kind of try to speak the vernacular of what the book is telling me, who's going to go longer. And, that's just the way that I kind of break it down. Whitlock over 5.5 strikeouts minus 122, Gray under 5.5 strikeouts minus 143. So they definitely think Whitlock strikes out more than Gray. It's a first 5 play for me, but I'm glad you like the Twins too. You and Ben will be best friends and cash your Twins tickets together.
So, Ali, Marco will be playing. Marco, you playing in the World Series of Poker tomorrow? Is that correct?
No, I'm out of town tomorrow. That's why I'm not playing so no last longer wagers.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that. Prez is playing in the senior event. Of course, you're not old enough to play in the senior event yet. You're not close to being old enough to play in the senior event yet. But are you playing any poker at the World Series this year? I know that's something that you love to do. Is that in your bag of tricks this spring?
It is not. I've been out of I have a friend, Pete Legner. Go Cincinnati Reds, Pete Legner. He's the official scorekeeper for our minor league baseball team here, the Aviators. I used to work with him. But I've been watching him play poker for years, and we play a little league here in town in Vegas, our Misfits Poker League that we do. But he's playing the World Series this year, and he's super stoked. So maybe I'll go check him out from the rails. But yeah, I'm not playing any cards this round.
Yeah, just to warn you, it is I'm not going to call it a traffic nightmare. I'll call it gridlock around the horseshoe right now. Really hard to get in and out.
Well, because we're building the Formula One track too. Like everything in Vegas is destroyed because of our Formula One track, which I can't wait for, by the way. So excited about that.
I can't wait for the construction to be done with it. Well, let's talk about the Dodgers and the Angels. We're looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen. Angels minus 145 range, total of 8.5. Grove and Ohtani. We're not talking side or total here. We're talking Ohtani strikeout props. Where do you want to go with without a doubt, in my opinion, the most valuable player in MLB this season? When you see what all the categories he's number one in, whether it's hitting or pitching, Shohei Ohtani is something special. What are we going to do with him this evening?
He's not my favorite. I'm just kidding. He's not my favorite. No, well, we are kind of fading Ohtani today. And this is actually a play we made last week. He was pitching against Eovaldi, I believe, and the Rangers. And I had sent it to Ben that I really liked Ohtani over whatever his strikeouts were. And I'm pretty sure he got 9. He went over mine. And Ben said, well, I love Ohtani under his, I think it was 6.5 then, and he got it under it because Ohtani only had 3. So we're going back to that. Well, we're taking Ohtani under the 7.5. It also says something that they're playing the Dodgers. The Dodgers lost 3 in a row at home against the Giants. Now they're on the road, but they're on the road in LA. Like LA and Anaheim are an hour apart. It's not that big of a deal, but they picked one up. They could pick one more up, and then they're off and running. It's only a 2-game series. So I don't like his chances against this home city rival. And I don't like his chances just because his strikeouts have been crud lately. 6, 6, and 3. I think under 7.5 is not too crazy.
Yeah, Ali, and anytime I talk about it all the time, and Teddy's absolutely right. This is the most valuable player in baseball. He's also one of the most popular players in baseball. And when you are the most popular, anything that surrounds you, whether he's starting and you're going to be laying a price with him, or you're going to be looking at strikeout props, they're going to be tilted one way. They know which way the public's going. So generally, you are going to have value when you are looking at fading him or going with unders and player props, because they are juiced for the anticipation of where the public's going. I happen to agree with you. I don't think he gets to 7.5 tonight against the Dodgers. This is one of those ones that when you look at it on paper, not going to be a high-scoring game, not going to be a lot of plate appearances. We're going to be looking at the minimum. You saw a lower scoring game again last night between these two. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of that pitcher's duel last night. We'll see what happens tonight, but I do agree with you guys, you and Ben, on the under 7.5.
So let's talk about what. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No,
Alan.
I just
It's
said,
all
yes, we got one.
So what's going on for Team Burns today? What do we have going with Ben Burns? What does he have for sale? Talk about some of the streaks that he's on, and talk about some of the promotions you can get with Ben Burns plays over at WagerTalk.com.
So yesterday on the Ben Burns Report, we were 2-0. We were off last week, but the 3 days we were on last week, we were 6-0. So we are 8-0 on the Ben Burns Report show. And by the way, Teddy, the 2 times I've come on this show, I've given you 4 picks, and we're 4-0 for Wager Talk today. So just saying, okay? So the Ben Burns Report's already out. We've got 2 plays in that game, or on that show, on the A's game, if you guys want to check that out. Ben cashed. A lot of people love betting basketball, and they're forgetting that the WNBA is going on. Ben is solid in basketball. He's actually the number 1 capper at Wager Talk in 2023, 64 and 19, I believe, is his record. So definitely check him out if you're looking for WNBA. Don't forget he's Canadian, so he's got all that CFL action y'all are looking for, Canadian football for days. And then, of course, obviously, baseball. So, yeah, number 1 at Wager Talk. I mean, it's no big deal. Whatever. Tell your friends. So, yeah, check out
I've got Ben at 46 and 19 basketball heater, the number 1 basketball handicapper. Wager Talk up 160 net units of profit this past basketball season. So check out his WNBA. Thank you so much, Ali. It's a pleasure to see you and chat with you. We'll see you again next time right here on Wager Talk Today. Let's talk a little BS right here. I'm in favor of it. Marco's in favor of it. But not that kind of BS. Betting strategy. Every day we try to answer a betting strategy question here on Wager Talk Today. Please, if you have a question that you want answered, all you got to do is put it in the comments. Well, on the YouTube, on the replay on YouTube, we go through them every night, pull out some questions we can talk about, pull out the best question to talk about for the next day. So I encourage you, please, if you got questions, stick them in the comment section on YouTube. That helps our algorithms as well. We appreciate all the likes. We appreciate all the follows. It's not too late to give us a like for this show, even though we're not begging for 100 likes to get a presidential address. Now, let's talk BS betting strategy. Good question from Smokey Steve Bets. He asked, what metric would you say is most important and most indicative of a successful pro bettor? He gives some examples: total profit, ROI, win percentage, etc. In my opinion, there's a couple of things that we look for. But certainly total profit / ROI stand out like a sore thumb. The bettor is very profitable. The bettor has a high return on investment. Those are positive things. If they're not profitable and they have a negative ROI, it's less important. And winning percentage to me is not really that important, because if you're talking about a dog player in MLB, for example, they can win 40-45% of their wagers and still make a whole bunch of money. They win half their wagers, they can make a fortune. You're betting futures or long shots or other type of things. Win percentage is not the key factor. But the one thing that wasn't on this list, closing line value, CLV. That's something that a lot of pros grade themselves on to try to figure out, are they getting the best of the number? When you're getting the best of the number, in theory, you're going to have a better chance to win. That being said, we've all got shoeboxes full of tickets with excellent closing line value. You get the closing line value trophy, and it doesn't necessarily bring you winners. What's your thought, Marco? What's the most important metric for gauging how successful a capper is? I got to say profit, but CLV, ROI, where do you go?
Yeah, for me, ROI is, one of the biggest indicators, and you hit the nail on the head about win percentage. That's the least valuable of a metric to look at, because you gave the one side of the coin, saying if you're betting underdogs and so forth. If you're somebody that's betting a lot of chalk, okay, and you're at 55%, 56%, which anybody would be happy with in a normal sport, you're losing money. If you're playing big favorites in baseball, you'll get carried out with a 56% win percentage. So that's the least important. ROI, I put the most importance on that, because there's a lot of different things that you got to take into consideration. Total profit's total profit. At the end of the day, you can't take that away. But there's different ways to get to total profit, Teddy. Are you somebody that is, winning 10 units and you only got 20 plays? Or are you somebody that's won 10 units and you've had 200 plays? There is a difference there on how you got to it. Both of you ended up with the same amount of profit, but it's that risk to reward, and not everybody's bankroll is the same. And that's why I look at ROI. The number is there, what you're returning every time you're wagering $1. And if you're a high volume guy, your ROI is going to be lower, but you're getting more action in. And that's what they try to do. They're grinding it out, shotgun approach, whatever it is. Whenever you're a lower volume player like myself, you're going to have a tendency to generally have a higher ROI when you're showing a profit, meaning you're putting less money at risk to get that profit. And those are the things that I look at. And you got to be comfortable as a player. I'm not saying either way is the right way or the wrong way. You need to play the comfortable way for you, what you can do on a daily basis, because anybody can play anybody's style for 1, 2, 3 days. It's when you can do that over a long period of time and not feel effects if you do have runs that go both ways, as we all know.
And when it comes to ROI, I just want to add one more thing here. When it comes to ROI, the cappers who are betting, let's say, golf futures, Coke can hit a 60-1 and an 80-1 and a 40-1, and there's no way Coke is going to have the best ROI for the year. You're not. For a capper like me, there's no way I'm going to be able to step in front of that when he's hitting multiple 40 and 60 and 80-1 winners. Those are awesome when you get them, But ROI, and I'm not calling out Coke at all. Coke is an amazing handicapper at multiple sports. But the point is that when guys have those big long shots that come in and pay at that level, that's not something that I release for my clients, basically ever. So there are some cappers certainly that are going to have a big ROI, but it's going to come in fits and spurts. You're going to get a big chunk Other cappers are going to be more slow and steady wins the race. So that's just something to be aware of when you're looking at ROI numbers. Marco?
One quick thing. The other side of the coin of that is those guys are never going to be anywhere to be found in the win percentage categories. Those type of guys are generally going to have, oh my God, he's only hitting 40%. Well, it's because you have all of those smaller plays that you're taking the big shots with. So that's why win percentage definitely is the least valuable of all. And yes, you're going to have those big swings with guys that play golf, futures for, if you're somebody that's going to tie your money up on who's going to win the Super Bowl for 6 months or whatever, and you do hit those longer shots that happen. Yes, I agree with you 100%, Teddy.
Great question, Smokey Steve Betts. Thanks for asking. And again, please post those questions in the comment section on YouTube in the replay. We'll go through them every night. We'll find the best question for tomorrow to answer right here on Wager Talk Today. Let's bring in our final guest. Andrew McInnis is going to close out the show. He's hitting cleanup today. Andrew was on the Cover It with me last week on SiriusXM channel 159 where we're talking CFL. And now we get to talk CFL one more time, Canadian football. Mr. McInnis, welcome to the program. How are you doing this Wednesday? For you, it's afternoon.
Doing very well, guys. Good to be here with you. And I have no problem batting at the end. It's fine by me. We'll clean things up, give out some winners. And I decided to take the Brian Leonard approach. I've kind of got one little segment about some betting advice in the CFL and then one pick, of course, to throw in the mix as well. So I think what Brian did last week might be a new thing people are going to start doing, mixing things up and throwing some tips in as well for one of the segments.
Love it. No arguments with that approach whatsoever, especially here in the summer months where it's not all about game breakdowns. Let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts, some of the bread and butter of handicapping. And it starts in the Canadian Football League. We have 2 weeks in the books. It starts with overreactions in the CFL. You wanted to talk about how bettors should approach the overreactions, what to look for, and how do we make money with it? What do we do in Canadian football in general 2 weeks into the season?
Generally speaking, I hate, and I don't use that word very often, all the betting cliche terms, but all you hear people say is bet numbers, not teams, right? You hear that all the time. And I just feel like in the CFL, especially early on in the year, guys, people fall in love with teams. They fall in love with a favorite. They fall in love with betting it over with a certain team. And I've got news for those guys. That one team isn't going to cover for 18 straight weeks. That one team isn't going to go over the total 18 straight times. There's going to be change. There's going to be market adjustments. I think it's really important for people to look at these numbers instead of just looking at the logo and saying, yes, I'm going to continue to bet on that team. And I really like the discussion you guys had about the CLV and just, the ROI and all that stuff, because I feel like the CFL is a really good sport to look at when it comes to getting that great number. And then if that number goes away, to say, you know what, I missed it, right? And I talked about that with you on your show, Teddy, where if you see a number open up, let's say -3.5, that jumps up to 6.5. We do see that stuff happen in the CFL. I think people should say, you know what, I actually missed that good number. Maybe it's too late for me to jump in at this point, but I'm looking at last week. I'm looking at Calgary just dominating their matchup against Ottawa. We saw Winnipeg hang 40 points again. Toronto dominates Hamilton, 3 rushing touchdowns from Chad Kelly. And now we're entering week 3. As we approach week 4, we're going to start seeing these major adjustments, but people are going to remember what they saw last, as you guys know, in every sport, and be ready to just jump on these big favorites. So I just wanted to bring to people's attention, if you're a casual CFL bettor, if you're looking for some action on the weekend, if you're looking at these, I just want to make sure people are aware the numbers are going to change. These teams are not going to blow out their opponent every single weekend. And last week was a really good example, guys. The public probably had a great week. I mean, what was supposed to happen for them probably did happen, but it's not going to happen every week. And I feel like there's definitely some opportunities this week to take advantage of it with some good bets. And that starts probably with BC in the opening night there with Winnipeg, everyone's favorite team. But I do expect some of these adjustments to start being made with the odds makers and some dogs to start hanging around. And that starts in week 3.
Andrew, quick question for you. I'm not somebody that follows the CFL, but we know in the NFL, so to speak, that when the lines come out and you see that early movement, we tend to deem it more sharp money early than the casual bettor, especially if you're seeing money come in on a under in a particular ball game. We know the public is never running to the window on a Sunday night or a Monday morning to bet an under. Do you see any of those type of patterns with the CFL with the betting?
Absolutely, Marco. I think the where the money goes and kind of this movement. I was saying that to Teddy as well on his show. It's usually pretty accurate, but like I said out the gate, the problem is, Marco, the money move the number moves, so much that if you don't get it right away, if you don't get that number early, you're going to miss out, but I do agree with you. And I can definitely say that you see some of these moves and it's usually pretty sharp, especially on these unders. You want to jump in on them early. And everyone thinks CFL, big end zone, bigger field. They pass the ball so much. I got to bet the over. But every game has a 47.5, 48. We're seeing pretty high totals. So I would tell people to be careful. But there's lots of movement, and it's really important. And that's why I do stress. I think you guys do as well. I think I've heard Teddy say before, don't buy this play. The reason why we say that is because we want you to get the best number. Buy a week pass, a 1 month pass, a season pass, and you're going to get those plays sent to your phone or your email the second we release them with the line parameters, and that way you're set up for success.
Let's talk one CFL game for week 3. What's this? Friday night in Hamilton, Ontario. The Tiger Cats against the Alouettes. I'm seeing Hamilton -2.5. There are some 3s out there. There is also a 2 out there. Total 44. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen. What are we going to do in this Tiger Cats Alouettes showdown in week 3 of the CFL?
So to me, this is a very typical handicapping spot play that everybody is looking down on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that's when I want to bet on them. Their starting quarterback they picked up in the offseason. Well, he's not their starter this week. He got injured. His arm strength has not looked good to start the year off. The injury problems continue with Bo Levi Mitchell, but Matthew Schultz looked way better when he came into the game anyway. Might have been prevent defense, might have been garbage time, but Schultz played very well. And this Hamilton offense looked better with him behind center. There was a tough schedule to start the year off for Hamilton. Playing Winnipeg, one of the toughest teams in the league for many, many years. Oh yeah, then the next week you get the Toronto Argonauts, the defending Grey Cup champions, fresh off a week 1 bye. Right now, this is the opportunity where everyone thinks Hamilton sucks. They can't do anything. They can't move the chains. Now they're back at home. I want my money on them. I want my money on the team in that desperate position. And I know that we always use that phrase, must win does not mean will win, but I don't think they're in a must win spot. I just think that they had a tough start to their schedule. Their backup QB right now, I think, is better than the starting quarterback. And Montreal, they have 1 win under their belt, but they've defeated Ottawa. So I'm not very impressed with a team like Montreal that defeated Ottawa yet. They have to prove to me what else they can do. So I'm looking at the home team, Hamilton. When everyone's looking down on them, I'm ready to bet on them. Starting quarterback goes injured. You guys know how it goes. Nobody wants to bet on them. I will. I'll take Hamilton on the money line.
Andrew, again, I asked you something comparing to NFL, and there you're throwing an injured player theory. I mean, have you found that a lot of the stuff that you use and we use in the NFL carries over for the CFL?
100%. And Marco, the funny thing is it's with the reporters as well. There's a great website called 3downnation.com. It's one of the best websites that I use for my CFL research and reading. And it's just all these guys that live locally in these towns and cities that you can get these great blog posts. And the overreaction that I've seen from Bo Levi Mitchell, you would think that he's thrown 5 touchdowns in both of his games he started so far. They're acting like this is a superstar that got injured. And I mean no disrespect when I say this, but the team might be better off with him on the bench right now. So you see it in every sport. I think back to COVID as well. I'm not a huge college football handicapper, but I remember in college football, everybody was so excited to bet against these teams that a lot of their players had COVID or they were injured. And that was actually accounted for in the point spread. And that team would cover a lot of the time. So I'm looking to bet on the team with the starting quarterback out in week 3.
Great
Good stuff
stuff
as
from
always.
Andrew McInnis. Yeah, now it's my
Thanks,
turn.
guys.
So yeah, it's all good.
Thanks, guys.
Great stuff from both of us. Andrew, what do you have to promote over at WagerTalk.com?
I cashed a 5% CFL play in week 2. I do have another one, which goes Saturday night for week 3. And I have a great promo code, SAVE20. These plays are usually $35. You can use promo code SAVE20 at checkout, take $20 off. Pretty self-explanatory with the promo code, and get that down to $15. That's SAVE20 at checkout, and join me in my 5% play this weekend. Thanks so much, guys.
Best of luck with that 5% CFL winner from Andrew McInnis. You can get that right now over at WagerTalk.com. There you have it. Wednesday edition in the books. Marco, why don't you take us home?
All right. I want to thank all of our guests today. It's been a jam-packed show. Kicked it off with Rob Veno. Ali Burns was here, and then we closed it out, of course, with Andrew McInnis. Want to thank all of you that tuned in to today, and of course, we'll watch the replay. I won't be back tomorrow, but Teddy and Steve will. They'll be back here tomorrow, noon Eastern, for Wager Talk Today. Cash some tickets today, guys.